Hello everyone, it's me, Clayton. I just got back from watching the film Mirai, which was already released in Japan, but it just came out in the States. Now, as a film directed by Mamoru Hosoda, you know that he happens to make films that are all about supernatural occurrences and family values, and this is no exception. But it probably has one of the some of his best stuff imaginable in it. It's not my favorite of his films, but there are several moments that I would consider some of his overall best in his career. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is about a toddler named Kun, who has just had a new member of his family enter the picture. His own little sister named Mirai. At first, like a normal immature toddler, he feels like he's being neglected and forgotten by his family. But when he goes into a magic garden, he goes on all kinds of adventures with family members from his past and present and future, his dog, and even a future version of his little sister Mirai. But that's all I'll say about the story without spoiling anything. But the story as a whole really isn't big or epic or grand in scale. It's actually very tied to this one family. The story is basically this is a little boy, a little sister enters his life, and here's his life, and here's a little bit of his imagination to go along with it. And I love stories that do that, stories that avoid cliches and stories that allow a very natural story like this to flow through it. And a lot of that is mainly due to the fact that the family feels very real. I know that might not seem like the best description I can give to them, but real is the best you can be when it comes to these kinds of dramatic stories. Kun especially feels like a very realistic young toddler, always demanding attention, always seeming overbearing, no matter how hard his family tries. But you can tell it's not because he's malicious or anything. It's just much like a normal toddler. He doesn't know any better, and it's very well shown through the way he's written and the way he's animated and the way that he's voiced. It's just great overall. But not only that, but his mother and father are also great. They have several scenes where they have very natural and flowing conversations that sound like what a real mother and father would go through at this point in their relationship. Now, if there were a couple of problems I have with the film, is that, for one, Mirai herself, despite being the title character of the film, seems a little underutilized. I'm not particularly saying when she's a baby, because she's a baby. She's obviously not going to have any dialogue there, and she's very cute, and she often is very well animated as well. It's more, I'm talking about future Mirai. Well, the one seen in the trailers and the one shown on the poster. She only shows up for a few scenes throughout the film, and to be honest, I would have liked to see a bit more of her. That's not to say that the scenes that she's featured in are bad. They're often some of the highlights of the film. It's just, for a film that's called Mirai, it does feel like it's a little weird that we have so little of Mirai in it. Not only that, but there also is some fairly conspicuous CGI. Not necessarily terrible CGI, but it's definitely noticeable in comparison to the hand-drawn stuff. But aside from that, the animation is great, the writing is absolutely excellent, and it has some of the most realistic depictions of family that I can possibly imagine. So, with that being said, Mirai gets a 9 out of 10. Not necessarily Mamoru Hosoda's best film, but definitely one of his better films of recent years. See you next time.